Click, click, boom. What's going on, faithfuls? The Nothing But Niners crew is back, man. Tonight, we're going to have a short, simple, fun show for you guys. We want to thank everybody for stopping by and checking us out here on YouTube. If this is your first time here, do yourself a favor, click that like and subscribe button. It'll be also doing us a favor, so we appreciate it, all right? Guys, make sure you turn on that little notification bell so you know every time we go live, all right? Make sure you check out the website also. It is www.nothingbutniners.com. There you're going to see a bunch of great articles written by a bunch of great people. You're going to see a bunch of social media pages there. Our Twitter and our Snapchat are nothing but the number 9 ERS. All right. Make sure you give us a follow over there on all those sites. And then you're also going to see our Instagram as well as our Facebook. That is Nothing But Niners. It's spelled all the way out. I'm on Twitter as 49ers Mike _NFL. And my man Nick, what's going on, baby? He is 49er Faithful 365. How you doing over there, kid? What's up?
What's up, Mikey? I got to get used to that 49ers Mike _NFL now because it used to be NF. So, yeah, make sure you give my man Mike a follow on Twitter. You can check me out on Twitter as well. Like Mike said, 49er Faithful 365. All day, every day. You know what it is. But, yeah, man, I'm excited to get into this conversation that we're going to talk about tonight. 49ers' most important change of the offseason.
Yeah, man, there's a lot. It's a slow time of the year, and what a lot of people want to do now is that, we're kind of recycling the same stories. Which wide receiver is going to be the guy out? What running back is going to be cut? Are we going to keep all of them? What do we do with Juice? And it kind of gets repetitive. So, we were sitting around, we were trying to brainstorm, and it was like, you know what? I really like blank. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of like this thing more, and I think it's going to be more important. Well, big scheme, this is going to be more important. So it was like, it's a good subject. Like, what do you think is the most important off-season acquisition we've had here? And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, to give people a recap, we have done all the draft players. You guys are familiar with who they are, right? Bosa being the first-round pick, Deebo Samuel, second round, Jalen Hurd in the third round, Mitch Wishnowsky. All four of those players are going to be very key contributors, some more than others. I think that of those four, the one that's going to give you the least immediately anyway is probably Jalen Hurd. Mitch Wishnowsky will probably have the most and biggest immediate impact on the results of the game, believe it or not. But is he good enough? Is that enough to be considered the most important offseason acquisition? We've had coaches coming in and out. We've also had guys in free agency like Dee Ford or Jordan Matthews, Quan Alexander. Those are three big offseason acquisitions the 49ers have made as well. So I'm here to have a lot of fun. Let's talk about all of it, man. Maybe there's somebody that I even forgot. Maybe somebody like a school. Maybe that's who Nick thinks is the guy. What's going on over there, man? Who are you thinking about, Nick? Some of your options over there.
I got some kind of song in my head right now, so I'm just like kind of jamming. But anyway, no, dude, like you said, I mean, those are the obvious, right? The defensive retools and things like that. With Bosa, Deebo, Mitch Wishnowsky, obviously we think they're great additions, right? But I don't know if they're the best additions that we are going to go with. So, but in my mind right now, my biggest move this year would probably be the hot-headed, heated, get in your ass, Chris Kocurek. And I think this guy will boost what these guys have on this defensive line. So that'd be the likes of Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, possibly even Solomon Thomas. This whole front defensive line, the additions in Nick Bosa, coming into a great defensive line coach, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Sheldon Day, Solomon Thomas, Dee Ford. But I like the tenacity that this guy brings. And I think that was something our defensive line was kind of lacking last year. For the last few years. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Chris Kocurek, man. I'm going to stick with him as one of the biggest pieces that we added this offseason.
I really like that pick. I was debating about him or even Roy Woods for our secondary coach.
Joe Woods.
Roy Woods is a comedian. I apologize. He's on Comedy Central. My bad. Joe Woods. And the reason I was thinking about Joe Woods is because he's got this really important task of taking our horrible secondary and turning it into something viable. Right now, our secondary is the weakest point on this team. Going into last season, or even at the conclusion of last season, it was probably our defensive line. So I understand where you're coming from as well. I think we've added some really important pieces on the defensive line, and Dee Ford as well as Nick Bosa. But I honestly think that even more important than the coach and his wide nine technique that he's bringing here, it's going to be one of those two guys that I just mentioned. And it's not Nick Bosa. I think Dee Ford is probably the most important piece. I am one of those guys. A lot of people think that your secondary can create a pass rush because they hold long enough, or they can guard their man long enough, and that'll create a pass rush. Then there's the other guys like myself who firmly believe that your pass rush makes the secondary better. Not that they both don't do it, but I think the pass rush has a bigger effect on the secondary than the other way around. So what's the most important part to the pass rush? In my opinion, it's not Nick Bosa, it's Dee Ford. Dee Ford is the guy that we are giving the big bucks to. He's paid 7th in the league at his position for a reason, and we are taking a massive flyer on him. 2 seasons where he's played 15 or more games in his entire career. He's coming off of the franchise tag and all coming off of a great season, and we're looking for him to replicate that here. The reason I think this is, one of the biggest risks and biggest rewards is because you have to think about why the Chiefs let him go. They tagged him knowing that they were going to try to trade him. And what was their reason for getting rid of someone? How do you let go of a guy who led the league at his position in pressures? Well, it's because they don't believe that he is fit for a 4-3 front. Well, guess what? That's exactly what we run here. And if by chance Dee Ford doesn't work out, look, Dee Ford is supposed to be your safe bet. This is why it's important to me. It's not Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa we want. He's supposed to be the safest of the draft picks, right? But if he doesn't quite pan out, this guy was a rookie. He never played anything in the NFL. People are going to start saying we never saw it translate to success on the field. They're going to have all the excuses ready for Nick Bosa. With Dee Ford, that was supposed to be your sure thing. Not only did you trade for him, yes, you gave up a future second-round pick for him, you also gave out a lot of money. He's got the guaranteed money. He's got the injury guarantees in the contract and things like that. And so he is supposed to be the surest of every move that we've made this entire offseason. What do you think about that? And I do want to talk about your pick in Kocurek a little bit more, but what do you think about that with Dee Ford? And, do you really think that was the safest pick that you think we've done this offseason?
Do I think it was the safest pick?
Well, safest is then it's supposed to be the safest. You can hire a coach and not quite sure what you're going to get, and maybe it was more of his players than it was him. You can draft somebody, and like I said, that draft person can flame out, and then you can change up your scheme. Well, players have to have time to adjust to a scheme, right? But when you go out and you get a free agent, you're supposed to know exactly what you're getting. And so I think to me that's like the safest pick as far as all that goes. Like it's supposed to be the least amount of risk in that move.
Yeah, I mean, I can acknowledge that because of the fact that obviously they gave up a lot for him. So to them, it's kind of the safe move. Like, okay, we're not going to pick up a free agent, but I mean, I don't know if it's safe because they spent more by going for a trade, by giving up more than they could have picked up somebody else on the free agency market. So I don't know if it's the safest pick. It was definitely the bolder pick, but I wouldn't so much call it safe because I mean obviously every NFL player you want to play well. You think that they're going to fit your scheme. You think they're going to do well. Obviously they seen traits of Dee Ford that they liked. They went and they changed it, but I really wouldn't call it a safe mode or move. I would call it more of a bolder pick because you spent more to get him. You're taking more of a chance on him, hoping he pans out. And then you add Nick Bosa in with that as a safety blanket. So if Dee Ford doesn't work out, you have Nick Bosa in the young areas to where he's going to come up and do what he's got to do. He also gets that ability to be around Dee Ford, learn from Dee Ford, that extra leadership type on that defensive line with DeForest Buckner. But if it works out, then that safety blanket becomes a part of the solution as well. So together, what I mean is, so I wouldn't call it a safe pick because I don't think it was a safe pick, but I mean, I agree that it was a big offseason move. It was something that we needed. We weren't sure we were going to be able to land Nick Bosa. So it was a move that we needed to get. He is young. He has had some productive seasons. He's had some back injuries, but I'm still excited as shit to watch him. I've been watching film on him all day today, and it's just been making my heart jump from my chest. So I'm just super excited to see Dee Ford. He's probably one of the most exciting players I'm excited to see play this year.
And rightfully so. The dude is electric when he's on the field, man. People look at his sack numbers and all, and they question where's the production to match the contract, but you have to look at it on a per game basis. This dude is a monster on a per game basis. When he's out there and he's playing, he's really damn good. He's really good.
It's not even I mean, yes, he gets the sacks. You know, he's gotten the sacks over the last 2 years. You know, 8.5 the 1 year, 16.5 the next. But it's what he does to quarterbacks. He forces them up in the pocket so much because of that speed around the edge. And that's kind of what Nick Bosa does too. Nick Bosa gets the edge, creates that, you know, push up in the pocket, which our middle of our defensive line should eat this year. And, you know, the speed with Dee Ford and Nick Bosa as well on the edges. It's not even just about, like I said, it's not about the sacks that he gets. It's not about the turnovers he gets. He does his job. He literally comes around the edge. He pushes everything back inside and rarely lets anything by him on the outside. So, it's a really good move.
Yeah, you would like to think that our defensive tackles will lead the league and at least tip passes this year. These guys should be pushing these quarterbacks up and doing it early. I'm not talking 4.5, 5 seconds later either. I'm like, snap the ball, you get back in your 3-step drop, and it's like, oh shit, let me step up really quick because they're coming. That's what we want to see from these guys. You know what I mean? And this is going to go with who your choice was for the most important offseason move. Kocurek, he's got to teach these guys to work together. It's no good. It's all for naught if Ford and Bosa are crashing the edges, and Buckner and Armstead, or Buckner and Thomas, or Buckner and Blair, whoever they decide to put in there as the DTs, if they can't do their jobs, if they can't win their battles in there, it's all for nothing. And that's why you see and hear Kocurek yelling at these guys the way that he does. And like, he wants every single rep to be one that is full of fire and fury. You know, he wants these guys to get after every single rep. And if he does his job right, just our front four on passing downs should be phenomenal. Really, really should be.
It really should be. And like you said, it's not that those 4.5, 5 seconds. And I think what we were lacking last year to where we would, you know, where DeForest Buckner would get those sacks outside the pocket and things like that was I talked about this before on one of the shows, how I feel DeForest Buckner needs to get better on one-on-ones. I think he will get better on one-on-ones, 1-versus-1s. But the lack of the outside edge rush over the past few years has been vanished. It hasn't been there, right? You get some with Ronald Blair. You got some with Cassius Marsh. You got some with old man Elvis, right? But we haven't had a consistent edge rush to where they're going to be on your ass pretty much every single down they're on the field, and the opportunity to create a strip sack or a sack or, you know, a forced turnover by a quick throw or a quick decision. Those is where we were lacking. I think that DeForest Buckner and Arik Armstead, if they're playing the inside, you know, those two guys are guys that can and will probably get past their guy because you're going to have to force extra guys out to help with the edge guys now. So it's going to open a lot more 1-versus-1s. You're not going to see that 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 seconds to where a defensive lineman has to chase down a Russell Wilson per se, a Kyler Murray per se on the outside. I think they're going to force things inside. They're going to close that gap on the outside up and force everything inside. I think that's where we're going to see the biggest help from this defensive line is from those edge positions. And then, like you said, pass blocks, with a quarterback stepping up, silly decisions, getting rid of the football faster than they normally should, just trying to get rid of the football fast, and making mistakes. So I think that's where it really is. People say secondary makes, is as good as your pass rush, and your pass rush is as good as your secondary. Your pass rush determines everything. It starts in the trenches. It literally starts in the trenches. Your secondary is not going to make your pass rush better.
We've spent the last 3 seasons trying to convince ourselves of certain things in the NFL, and it's largely in part to the analytics guys and these people who come in and they're looking at the game through a different lens, and they want to believe that it's not just about brute strength and force, but the NFL. This is the 100 year, and the NFL has been literally carried by running backs and defensive fronts. It's the trenches, it's the power game. If you can overpower your opponent on the line, or you can run the ball better than them, you are 90% of the time going to win those games in the NFL. And we have spent the last couple of seasons trying to convince ourselves that pass rush is better than, secondary coverage is better than pass rush, and that running the ball is becoming obsolete. It's just not the truth. It's flat out wrong. We have grossly devalued the running back position. The value of a guy that can do it all. See, we talk about, I'm going to use the Niners as an example, all these different running backs and all the talent that they have, right? Because we have the guys who can make the catches. We have the guys who can run between the tackles, the guys who can get outside. We don't really have that bulldozer type guy, but we've got guys who can do everything else. All of them can do everything else pretty well, right? Here's the issue. And this is why running backs aren't getting the same praise and respect as they deserve. There used to be a time when one guy did it all. Emmitt Smith was the between the tackles guy. He could bounce outside, could catch some passes, get you that hard 3rd and 1. But Damian Tomlinson, you know what I mean? He was that type of guy. Now all of a sudden, you have one guy who can do it all. Now all of a sudden, you only need 3 running backs on your entire depth chart because that one guy can do it all, and you want some backups in case he goes down. Well, now you can't do that. Now you're sitting around and you're stuck having to carry 4 guys. I remember when the Niners would go on a game day, and it was Frank Gore and Kendall Hunter as the only running backs on the active roster. Those days are long gone because you don't have a guy like Frank Gore who can catch the ball in short plays, who can run up the middle or even bounce outside. And those days are gone because the NFL has tried to make it a point to devalue it. The value is in the roster spot. That's where the value comes in. So, it's just little interesting things like that, man, that you see all the time. That's what I was
kind of talking about before, where I said the run game. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't want to say it's necessarily because there's not. I want to say that there's not guys like that, because running backs that come up nowadays are training to do everything, because that's just what running backs do in the NFL anymore. You don't have those Jerome Bettises anymore. You don't have those, like you said, Emmitt Smiths, Ricky Waters type, or, bust type guys that are just going to run you over, Tom Rathmans, people like that. Like, you don't have that in the NFL anymore. These running backs are built totally different than they used to be. Kids that are, taller or even shorter, but less weight with speed are what your backs have become nowadays. So I don't think the running game is as evolved as it used to be, as per se the running game itself, because these running backs are utilized as receivers, as options out of the backfield, as a running back between tackles. But you don't see a lot of guys that are just going to bulldoze you over anymore. You got some guys that are still in the league that'll do that, but even if you look at Todd Gurley, like, he's still not that type of bruising back. He will run you over. He has the ability to do it, but he's not just built just for that. So that's what I've been trying to kind of say, to where the running back position has evolved into something we're not used to, something more of a hybrid type player, I guess I could say.
All right. So did you have a runner-up for your most important acquisition this year? I mean, I know you said Kursuric and I said D Ford. So obviously the defensive line, the pass rush is really important to us. Did you have a runner up? I mean, I already mentioned that mine was Woods, but I was really focused on the coaching staff because I feel like they have to step it up this year. But there's some players out there that I think are deserving of this or some consideration for this as well.
I'll have to think about one.
All right.
So you could talk about Woods because I know you had him.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to dwell on it. I mean, we know what the secondary needs to be. We knew that was a weakness, and I the reason I'm most excited about Woods is that he's got a little bit of a reputation, right? I said that last year we heard from himself, from the man himself in Halfley, how he's teaching the other DBs one way. He would see Richard Sherman do it another way. Instead of going to the sideline and scolding Richard Sherman or saying, this is how I want you to do it or anything like that, he was saying, hey, what'd you see? How come you did it that way? Oh, okay. He was letting Sherman just do whatever he wanted to do, right? And we saw Sherman's play decline. He might not have been targeted a ton, but we saw his play decline. And maybe with some solid coaching, it would have happened. But who was Jeff Halfley to tell Richard Sherman anything? Richard Sherman is a 2-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowl, 2 appearances in the Super Bowl, 1-time Super Bowl champ. Like, who are you to tell me how to do what I'm doing in a system that is designed after me? I became the prototype for the type of DB that you want in the system. You know what I mean? So who is Halfley to tell me that? Well, now we have a guy who has won a Super Bowl in that position. You know what? Hey, Sherman, you're not the only one with some hardware for what you do. You got to listen to me. I'm hoping that Woods comes in here with a little bit of that swag and, teaching these guys the right and wrong way to do things, not just letting someone run out there because of their status in the NFL and their past accomplishments. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons I really, really like Woods. But I've got some players that I thought about throwing in there, but I want to bounce it to you before I take all the good thoughts.
I'm going to go. I'm not sure if this is going to be a good offseason move, but it was a move that needed to be made. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn out yet, but is the strength and conditioning staff. That could end up being huge for us. And we don't know how it's going to pan out. We all know that it was a move that needed to be made. They did make it. So to me, that's still a big offseason move because it's something that needed to be addressed and was addressed. As to how that comes about or works out, pretty much the injuries that we've had already are people either that were still rehabbing or you had Jimmy Ward with a broken collarbone. So that was a broken bone. That's nothing really on the strength and conditioning staff. You have the torn pec, and I seen they were being, with Breida, but I don't know how that happened or where it happened. So we haven't really had any of those core muscle injuries yet. We did have the hamstring injury with Nick Bosa, but they didn't rush these guys back, the strength and conditioning staff. Whether that was their decision, whether it was Coach Kyle Shanahan's decision, or the players' decision, they didn't rush these guys back, kind of like we were doing with Matt Breida last year, or players that were injured that we rushed back and and ended up being getting injured again. So I like the way that this team is going right now. I like the idea that we hired a new strength and conditioning staff, the entire staff, and a new head guy who does more things. He came from a whole different sport. The head trainer, or not trainer, head staff and conditioning guy, he ended up coming from hockey.
Yeah.
But hockey's a brutal ass sport. So and they do a lot of things with analytics and stuff over there that they use. So I'm interested to see how it works. I'm not going to say it's a knockout because I don't know how it's going to work, but it was definitely something that needed to be done. And I think it was a big move for us because it needed to be done and we addressed it.
All right. That was by the way, a freaking awesome pick. Like I really, really like that. But I'm going to go to the player that I think is going to be the most important here. And it's going to be our second round pick in Deebo Samuel. He was a third wide receiver off the board in the entire draft. Marquise Brown. Yeah. Marquise Brown and N'Keal Harry. were the two guys that came off before him. I want to ask you this question before I get to Debo. Do you think if I'm going to say Brown, I don't think Harry fits what Shanahan was looking for, but do you think if Brown was there when we picked, that Shanahan would have took him over Samuel?
No, I don't think so. I think he literally had his eyes set on Deebo Samuel. Whether that's from the offseason I forget the Senior Bowl. Sorry, I was going to say Pro Bowl. Senior Bowl. He had his eyes pretty much set on him because, in my eyes, like I said, I wasn't big on Deebo, but I did like Brown.
Well, there was AJ Brown and Marquise Brown. I know a lot of people like both of those guys, actually.
I liked AJ Brown the best out of all the wide receivers. I thought he was the most well-rounded receiver. But then again, when you look at the way Deebo plays, he plays like a Kyle Shanahan system. When you watch him, he does the same things Marquise Goodwin does with the end-around type things, the quick slants, the ability to go downfield, the ability to go up and get the football. A.J. Brown didn't do a lot of those run plays and things like that. So Deebo Samuel is probably the most perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan out of every receiver that was out there.
And that's what I was going to get.
In aspects of the entire offensive game, I think Deebo Samuel fits that mold perfectly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, is that this is Kyle's handpicked guy. I mean, he had his pick of basically all the wide receivers in the entire draft, and this was the guy for him. This was the guy. And it's weird because I didn't feel this way about Dante Pettis. I don't know why. I didn't feel like it was. Do you know what pick Dante Pettis was overall? It was pretty close, right? Deebo Samuel was picked 36? Like, huh?
I thought he was third round.
Who did we pick in the second round last year?
I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember. No, CJ Beathard was third round last year.
Right. I'm pretty sure that we picked up what's his name, right?
Might have been Dante Pettis, like 46 or something like that.
No, I know for a fact Samuel was picked 36. Let me see. I'm gonna look up Dante Pettis real quick.
I think he was like 46 or something like that. 46,
44,
47.
44.
Yeah.
So, Shanahan had basically his pick of like all these guys, and it was Deebo. I don't know. I don't feel the same pressure for Deebo that I did for Pettis last year, and I don't know why. Both of them were the team's second pick, and I don't know, man. I think Shanahan's going to try to send a message with this guy. You know how people said about Matt Breida, how when Matt Breida first exploded onto the scene, a lot of the pundits were saying, "Oh, well, that's just Shanahan making anybody look good." You know what I mean? They kind of tried to downplay Matt Breida's accomplishments and his hard work that he puts in and all that stuff. They tried to act like he was just a guy benefiting from playing under Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think that's true. I think that Shanahan has an eye for guys, and Matt Breida was a talented dude in college, but the problem was that where he was coming from, and so they didn't know if they could trust it. Well, let's take a flyer on him. They saw what Deebo Samuel could do, and they fell in love with him. I think that this is going to be a bigger issue, not bigger, but as big of an issue as our pass rush in D Ford as wide receiver, because everyone was saying that the 49ers' biggest need was corner followed by wide receiver, and they wouldn't be mad if they flipped it as far as order of importance in the draft. So
safety wide receiver, right?
No. People were saying corner and wide receiver were the biggest needs. Everyone was completely upset about our corners. No one liked that corner play last year.
I thought it was all about safety this year.
No, I don't think so. I don't think safety was ever a first round target. I've seen people flip in all the mocks that I saw, and God, there were a lot.
Well, I was saying pass rush, and then people were taking safeties. And a lot of our mock drafts, people were taking safeties over corners and receivers. Like a lot of the mock drafts had safety, then receiver, then corner.
That's crazy to go 3 rounds without getting edge. That is nuts.
No, I said edge first round.
Oh, okay. You're talking about
second round, wide receiver third round, corner fourth. Actually, some had offensive line at fourth too.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I know people were saying that the 49ers don't have a true number 1 wide receiver, and you have a chance to get that guy at 36. You do. Not all number 1 wide receivers go in the first round. They had their chance to get this guy. And when you look at some of the talent that they passed up on, everyone knows how I felt about Kelvin Harmon. Everyone knows how I felt about Paris Campbell and Terry McLaurin. I love those guys, and I still think those guys are going to be special in this league. I think they would have been even more special with Shanahan. But Deebo Samuel is going to have a lot of pressure on him, whether he knows it or not. This was Coach's pick. This is Coach's baby right here. As much as we want to say that he likes other guys on this roster, this is the one to me that Shanahan wants to make his offense run through. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it plays out.
I don't think it's so much pressure. I mean, obviously he wants to do well, but in this system, there's no real true lockdown guy. So if he just comes out and catches the balls that are thrown to him and gets some yards after catch and things like that, I think Kyle Shanahan will be completely happy with him. Because this, like, I was talking to somebody on Twitter the other day. They were talking about how somebody said that Trent Taylor was going to reach 1,000 yards and somebody else was going to reach 1,000 yards on the team. And I was like, I think there's only going to be one receiver that reaches 1,000 yards. Why receiver? Because this offense is built to spread the ball around so damn much. It's not like you're keying in on one guy.
If I had it my way, we wouldn't have 1,000-yard receiver this year. I swear to God, if everything went the way I want the season to go, the 49ers wouldn't have 1,000-yard receiver anywhere. Nope. Wouldn't happen. So
yeah, but I mean, it's not much. What we say, 63 yards a game. That's for a receiver. 63 yards is like 2 catches. Could be 2 catches. Dante Pettis getting 61 to, I think it was 61 yards. 61 yards a game is not, even if he only catches the ball twice or 3 times a game, he could easily get 61 yards. Same thing with Deebo Samuel. He could break 2 slants for 25 yards apiece and have 50 right there. So I think one receiver will get 1,000 yards, but I doubt 2 will.
No, I get you. I would love for us to spread this ball around. I would love for 6 49er wide receivers to have 850 yards each. And in my fantasy world, that's what I'm looking at. That doesn't include George Kittle either. I would like to have 6 wide receivers. Hold on, let me do some math here. 6 wide receivers get 850 yards. Okay, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
that's 5,100 yards. That's nuts. But if you give me 5 receivers that can do that, right? You give me 5 receivers, that's 4,200 yards, and then George Kittle can go and get another 800 yards, 900 yards. I don't think Kittle's going to have close to the year he had last year either. But what I'm doing is I'm sacrificing yards for touchdowns and efficiency. If you spread the ball out like that, people don't know who to key in on. No one's going into a football game when the Steelers march out and saying, hey, I don't think we need to double that guy number 84. That never happened. They knew that if Antonio Brown is on the field, that's the guy you got to double. I would love for the Niners by week 6 to have teams saying, hey, just go out there and I don't know, we'll decide who to double on a drive-to-drive basis. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want the 49ers to have. I want them to have that kind. And by the way, it's a realistic possibility. I can't tell you who Shanahan wants to give the ball more between Samuel, Pettis, Goodwin, or Taylor, right? Those are just the wide receivers. What about Kittle? Who does Shanahan want to give the ball 5 times to in the game? And we haven't even mentioned the running backs who are going to be catching passes out the backfield. Like we have the opportunity to spread the ball around amongst everybody. in a crazy way here and be super effective and just leave teams just like, okay, you know what? Let's just follow the ball, guys. Who don't worry about who's on the field. Just look for the football and play that way. Like
you got to look at it this way too. I mean, last year, and I know that we were down running backs and we've had a lot of injuries, but we only averaged running the football 20 to 28 times, running 60 to 65 plays. The rest were pass plays. This is a heavy pass offense, whether it's the running backs it's a heavy play action. If you throw for 300 yards a game, you're probably going to have two or three guys that have 40, anywhere from 20 to 50 yards. You're going to have a guy who's probably going to hit 80, and you might have a 100-yard guy, right? So you're talking like 300 or 400 yards in passing with running backs out of the backfield. I think they're going to be the biggest this year is the screens, screens to the running backs, the tight ends, and slants. They're probably going to be the three hugest plays for this team this year.
I think screens are going to be a huge part of this. Quick hits, screens. Oh my God. If the Niners, and that's another thing too, you look at the guys that they got guys who are actually pretty decent at blocking. I think it's all setting up for a hell of a year with the screen passes, man. I know people are loving the play action idea and all that stuff, but oh boy, I'm excited. I'm excited about this year, man. I really, really am.
Look, with the speed that we have in the backfield, right? You can easily do a tight end chip block, get our guys out to the edge, and they'll beat a linebacker to the edge, like to the sideline, running back speed-wise. So if you're doing quick little quarterback, tight end chips, running back just gets out to the outside on a screen, you're talking 6 to 8 yards easy with just that play. And it's going to be something to where it opens up, because what's going to happen is they're going to play that. They're going to play chip. George Kittle is going to chip. They're going to go out and cover him, and then George Kittle is going to just easily get open between linebackers and somebody else. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be really hard. Like I said, if anything, we have one receiver with 1,000 yards this year. Everybody else is going to be between that 200 to 350, 387, 400 yards receiving. And the running backs might even be up there with 200,
who do you have
themselves for the entire year. I'm probably going to go with Dante Pettis.
Oh, damn. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm probably going to go with Dante Pettis to be 1,000-yard receiver this year.
Do you think that bodes well for the offense? Like, all right, so let me explain that, because that's a kind of a loaded question. I had something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, how am I supposed to?
Because so if Marquise Goodwin, if I told you that Marquise Goodwin had 1,000 yards, you could easily. All right, we've seen Marquise Goodwin catch an 81 or 83-yard touchdown pass, right? So it's not that big of an accomplishment for Marquise Goodwin if he's catching one bomb like that per game. You get what I'm saying? But if it's someone like if Trent Taylor had 1,000 yards, then the odds are he had a lot of receptions, because he's not going to get you a ton of yards after the catch. If Marquise Goodwin had 1,000 yards, he might be able to do something like that on 50 catches, where with Trent Taylor, it'll take him almost 100. You know what I'm saying? So do you think a guy like Pettis, do you think it bodes well if he is the 1,000-yard receiver?
Yeah, because I think what's going to happen is it's all going to be scheme fits. I mean, if he's playing well and Goodwin is playing well, you got to be able to cover them. I'll take Dante Pettis in a lot of one-on-ones. The same thing with the speed of Marquise Goodwin. If it was a Trent Taylor, or if it was I might even say Debo here, as the 1,000-yard receiver, then I think it doesn't bode well for the offense, because that means your outside guys aren't getting open. You're doing a lot of checkdowns. You're taking up more plays to get to the end zone, like more chunk plays, or check plays, I guess you could call it. I don't want to call them chunk because chunk is a lot. So I don't think it bodes well. I think, though, with Dante Pettis, I think Dante Pettis has shown the ability to catch the ball in, mid, and long. So therefore, I think he's going to be one of those receivers that are in every stage of the receiving core.
He's probably going to come off of the field the least amount of any guy. First down, you don't really want to see a Trent Taylor out there. You want Trent Taylor out there on your second or thirds and shorts. You know what I mean? First and 10, you're going to want a Marquise Goodwin out there. You're going to want a Pettis out there. You're not going to, you know what I mean? You don't want the gadget guys really to be the ones out there on first down. He's probably the guy who's going to come off of the field the least of anyone else. So I get what you're saying. It makes sense. There's a question in the group chat and says, how many passing attempts per game do you think we're going to have this year? And I think that number goes up. I'm not sure we averaged last year, but I would say easily 35 attempts a game.
That's low. We were averaging like 40 pass attempts a game last year.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
I'm telling you, dude, averaging, we might have been like 37, 38 maybe. We passed the ball a ton more than we ran the ball. There was times we only ran the football 15 times a game. I'm interested to see what that number is.
I'm pulling it up. I'll find it. Keep
going.
But
we were also down a ton last year. So it could be more balanced this year.
All right. So last year we had passing attempts 532. So we're going to do 532 divided by 16. Whoops. 33.25 a game. That's higher than what I thought. But like you said, that was us being down a lot. We had 423.
Yeah, I knew it was higher. What was the rushing attempt for the entire year?
So we ran the ball 26 times a game. So we basically ran 60 offensive plays a game. Yeah, that number is going to go up to like 72 to 74 offensive plays a game this year. And we're doing 74. I would like to see 38 to 39 be passing attempts.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. Like 20 runs and like 40 passes.
That's still 35 rushing attempts. I don't know, man. Oh shit. Are we gonna be a 40+ passing attempt team, man? That's crazy to me. I'm not used to it. I'm a 49er fan. I'm not used to it.
I felt we were more, like I said, I felt we were higher than we were. I said, 38 to 40? I said it at first 45. I was like exaggerating a little bit, but I can remember there's times we only ran the ball 12 to 15 times a game, and the rest were pass plays at 60 plays. So there were times like, you look, what was our average plays? Like how many total average plays did we have?
Yeah.
About 60 a game, yeah. So that's what I would. I don't know, man. It's going to be like 40-20, 40-30, or 40-25, 35-25. Somewhere in those range. Depends on how the game's going also. I don't expect us to be down a lot this year to be throwing the football. I'm expecting our rush average to go up because of the fact that we're leading football games.
Last year we started our average starting position was our own 26-yard line last year. That's basically a touchback every time. Like we had no kind of field position advantage last year. That's got to change, man. The average drive time was 2 minutes and 39 seconds. We averaged 5.72 plays a drive, 31 yards a drive. Now think about that for a second, right? We started our own 26 and we only averaged, let's just say 32. We averaged 32 yards a drive. Like we're not even in field goal range. That's hard.
No, it was horrible.
Yeesh.
Yeah,
Every-
we're like they're 40, 48, 46. Which is still like a 56 to 60-yard field goal. So
I can't believe we threw 20 interceptions and only had 2 picks. That has got to be the worst ratio in the entire NFL.
but see, you just said so. Here's the thing that everybody used to hate on Bradley Pinion. What was our average? Where were we averaging?
What do you mean, punts? It doesn't.
Yeah, no, not for punts. I know it was like 4.3, 43 yards. But people used to say that Bradley Pinion couldn't punt. And this is where I used to say all the time that we would get to just outside of field goal range and Bradley Pinion would have to punt. And you try to keep it in the field to where it doesn't go as a touchback. So we're talking, on their 47 average, you said 31 plays a game starting at
that's inside the 20.
You're talking right inside the 20. That's averaging about 43 yards a punt. That's just where the kid was.
He averaged 43.7 yards a punt. And if that, on average, they're inside the 20. Punted the ball 68 times. That is nuts. That is crazy. So I'm looking at all these numbers. I'm sorry. Yeah, man. So this is going to be a fun year. This is going to be a fun year, man. Every day I go back and forth with myself about which side of the ball I'm more excited about, the offense or the defense, and I can convince myself about either one. Honestly, that lets me know that I'm in for a treat. I'm in for a treat this year, Nick.
I can't pick offense or defense of whatever I'm excited for this year because I'm just excited all around. I'm excited for health. That's what I'm excited about. Like, to be honest, that's what I'm most excited about is if we can stay healthy. Knock, knock. If we can stay healthy, we're going to be a legitimate contender in the NFC West. I'm not saying we're winning the playoffs, we're winning a Super Bowl, because we have a lot of young talent on this team. And going into playoffs and stuff, you need that leadership type, people that have been there, a ton of people that have been there. And I couldn't tell you offense or defense, whatever I was more excited about right now, because I'm just excited to see 49er football.
I 1,000% agree with you, man. Preseason is going to be special. I'm going to be sitting down, clutching my pearls every single snap, watching the guys. I can't wait for preseason game 4 because that's going to be the one where you just are like, all right, I want this game to be over. We already know who's going to make the 53. There's only 2 positions up for grab. Let's see if it's going to be Julian Taylor or Kentavious Street, and let's get up out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you're like ready for the game and everything. But I don't want to rush it because I really want to see the talent. I can't wait to see what these guys bring to the table this year, man. Nick, I'm not going to belabor in the moment. I'm not going to prolong this. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, that's pretty much all I got, man. I am debating if I'm going to still go to the Tampa game or if I'm going to join you guys with the Green Bay game. That's a hard decision right now, but hopefully I can make both of them, but I'm not sure yet. But yeah, guys, like you said, Mike, we only have 37, 36 days left till first preseason game.
Is it that close?
Right? What do we? Yeah, dude, it's like August 8th or something, August 9th.
I'm going to cry. I can't wait for football, man. I can't freaking wait. All right, so we got to wrap. We got to get this series going here where we talk to all the fangirls. We got to get this thing going. So we got to stop teasing these guys about that and get that thing going. What's up to everybody in the group chat? Also, I see Luke is in here. He said, "What's up? Anything goes." Antoine Gray. It's in there. JD, man, what's going on? Shulo, I see you. Eric is in there. Rashad Johnson, I've never seen that name before. Nick is better at this than I am. Brian Carter, look at that. These are new names to me. Why don't I know these names? That's how you guys can tell who looks at the chat and who doesn't. There's a 0 in there, but it's spelled with an X. I like that. But yeah, what's up? Salute to everybody that's out there watching. We thank you guys for taking some time and appreciating everything like that. Nick, I got one more question for you. I saw in there, and I don't even know if this is what the question was about, but is 10-6 good enough to make the playoffs this year for the 49ers? Think about the division. Think about the other teams in the NFC. Is 10-6 enough to win and make it to the playoffs?
I think 10-6, 11-5 is going to win the division this year. A 10-6 team, possibly 11-5, in the NFC West.
If so you guys let's say another team takes 11-5 and we get the 10-6, are we making the playoffs?
I think we can make it with a wild card. Yeah.
So that means that you think I'm going to assume that you think the NFC East, that's the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, and Redskins are only sending one team.
I think the winner out of that division goes 9-7.
Right. So they're only sending one team. What about the NFC North? That is Giants, Packers, Vikings, and Lions. How many teams from that division?
That's who?
Think two?
No, who did you say?
Lions, Packers, Vikings, and Bears.
I think only one comes out of that.
Only one?
And I think it's the Bears.
All right. So then Saints, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Saints, Falcons, Buccaneers, and Panthers. That means you got two teams coming out of the division.
Yeah, I got the Saints and Atlanta.
So you got two NFC West teams coming out for the playoffs this year?
Two NFC West teams.
Wait, hold up. Are the Niners one of these teams for you?
They are.
All right. So which team? Nah, you're bugging right now. Which team do you think is not making it? The Saints, the Seahawks, or the Rams? Before you answer, I'm going to call you crazy no matter what you say, because either you're going to say Russell Wilson, who has been in the playoffs every single year, isn't going to make it, or you're going to say the team that was just in the Super Bowl doesn't make the playoffs. So either way, I'm going to say you're crazy.
I got the Rams not going. I'm telling you, our season is going to come down to the last game in Seattle to see who wins the division. Mark it.
So Niners go into Seattle. Niners go into Seattle 10-5, and Seattle goes into that game at 9-6.
No, 9-6. No, 9-6. Yeah.
Yeah, 9-6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Or
it could be vice versa.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or it could be no, because if you got 11-5 and then 10-6, that means that game is decided. Let's give.
No, I'm saying it could be 10-5 or 9-6.
10-6 or 11-5.
Yeah, I'm not saying the finish. I'm saying going into that game. So right. You said
you would need both of those teams to have double-digit wins in order to send both teams to the playoffs. So what I'm saying is one of those teams have to have double-digit wins already. So what if the Seahawks are what if the Niners are 11-4 and the Seahawks are 9-6? The Niners go in there, but we lay an egg because we already got 11 in the division locked up.
Right, but I'm saying the division is going to come down to that game.
So you're saying that the division's on the line no matter what?
No matter what.
But you got two teams from this division going to the playoffs.
That's right.
So that means that it comes down to the Niners and the Seahawks.
For the division, and whoever wins the game will be the other leading wild card team. And I have the Rams finishing third.
So they both go into this game with 10-5 records.
Yes.
Holy shit. That's the only way that happens. That's the only way that happens.
Yeah, or they both go in with...
No, they both have to go in with 10-5. Huh?
No, they could be 9-6.
No, because the other team, whoever loses, is going to have 9 wins. They're probably not going to get the other wild card. I mean, it's not impossible, but you need the other division to be really bad. Like you probably have a better shot of the NFC South sending 3 teams than our division sending 2. I think the Panthers can get 9 wins. I think the Bucks, believe it or not, I think after week 4 or 5, I think the Bucks turn it up a notch. Bruce Arians ain't going to stand for a lot of BS, and they have a really talented roster over there still, except that defense.
He had the same shit in Arizona and couldn't make it work. He had more talent in Arizona than
Bruce
he does
Arians
in
was
Tampa
a
right
boss in Arizona. Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
now. And he got fired. He had a good boss. He was in the bottom of the division for the last 3 years of his coaching staff.
Yo, you were disrespecting that dude. I like it. Hey, it's cool. We got to play him this year. Hey, send the disrespect his way. I'm not going to defend him. That's cool. Tell me he butt cheeks. That's cool with me. But I'm not saying that about BA.
So to answer your question, it's going to be between Seattle and Niners for the division. One or the other is going to finish 1 and 2. I got the Rams 3 and the Arizona finishing 4. LA is going to fall on their face this year. Watch. They didn't even deserve to be in the Super Bowl last year. They shouldn't even made it to the NFC Championship game last year.
All right, man. All right. I like it, Nick. You know, I like it, man. I hope you're right, man. I want us to be. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to say
How
that.
much better would that win in Seattle feel? Why not make it then?
Imagine both of the teams going into that game 10-5, and the winner gets home field advantage, and the other team is a wild. Like it would be stellar. Like, oh my God! And then you're taking that momentum into the playoffs with you? Are you kidding me?
To be tied, go there, win our first game at Seattle.
In Seattle since 2011.
Since 2011, and then start the new dynasty of never losing in Seattle again.
Oh.
And going to a playoff.
I think that's a bright idea. You see it?
It's bright. You lost your sound. Click, click. Click, click, boom.
I can't believe that just happened. I was saying, I think that's a bright idea. You see what I'm saying? Hopefully,
yeah, with the break.
Epilepsy or anything out there, and this doesn't cause a seizure. I'm sorry if it does. But yeah, for the rest of you, Nick has a bright idea. I like it. This is the new alert right here. Nick is giving us something good, guys. I hope that comes to fruition, man. I hope we go in there and we take that, get the home field advantage, at least get one home game. So we deserve a home playoff game in Levi's, man. The Niners are due for it, bro. This is our year, man. This is our year. We're coming up, and you can't stop us this year. You can't stop us, bro.
It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Look, man, I think what is your way of stopping the LA Rams? I just want to ask you that one thing real quick. What would you think as a football fan, the one way to stop Los Angeles Rams?
Pressure Goff.
Exactly.
That's it.
That is going to happen. Listen, we split with them last year, right? Or did they beat us both times, both games?
They beat us both. Out of us one game.
Yeah, and the other one game was close, right? I can't remember what the type.
No. The only reason people think the other game was close is because Kittle set that record in that game, but it wasn't close either.
We were getting destroyed, wasn't it?
Huh?
That was also the game that Alfred Morris fumbled on the goal line twice.
That was the first one.
That was the first game when we got blown out.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, do you think that with pressure on Goff this year, if we can get to Goff, we can't beat them twice?
No, I do think we can beat them twice. I think that Todd Gurley is worse off than what people think. And I think Jared Goff without Todd Gurley and his pass catching threat really opened the league's eyes to them. Now, I will not sit here and pretend like Sean McVay can't plan and doodle around that. He'll figure something out. I just hope that he doesn't figure it out by the time we play him, or if he does, the Niners have studied him so much that we're prepared for what he does. Our pass rush is going to be 1,000,000 times better than what it was last year. So I have all the faith in the world. We get after that, dude. I'll tell you what, if Todd Gurley was healthy, I wouldn't pick us to sweep them. That's for sure. I think that playing this wide 9, we're giving Gurley holes where he can take advantage of those linebackers. But if he's healthy, but he's not healthy, and so I'm not worried about him. You know, that's the difference right there. If Gurley was healthy, I'd be like, oh shit, we might have messed up a little bit here with this one, this wide 9, but I'm not worried about it.
I still wouldn't even worry about it with the speed of our linebackers, to be honest with you. I really wouldn't worry about it, because if you can meet him in that gap and you can make a tackle, you're fine.
Right, but you got 2 linebackers who miss tackles, and Todd Gurley makes linebackers miss tackles. It's a sick combination when both things are running the way that they do typically, statistically. But like I said, you don't have that from Gurley, so I'm not worried about it. I'm really not worried about it. I'm actually damn excited.
Yeah, me either.
We have never beat the Rams at full strength. And listen, I will say this. I never cheer, hope for, or want an opposing player injured. That is not my MO. I'm not one of those players. I've seen people say, I don't care. They're the enemy. If they get hurt, they get hurt. That is not me. I've always wanted to beat teams at full strength. What I will say is this, though. If you are trotting Todd Gurley out there, I don't want to hear excuses later, Rams fan, that, oh, Todd Gurley he's got his diminishing knee and da-da-da. I don't want to hear none of that. If he's out there on the field,
got an arthritic knee.
Yeah, I don't care. I got an arthritic middle finger. Okay, what I'm saying is, if he's out there on the field, you're telling me he is your best option. That means we beat you at full strength. So that's all I'm saying. I don't want to hear any excuses for it. I don't make excuses when we run our guys out there. I can sit here and tell you, oh, we lost this guy and we lost that guy during the game and all that. Those are injuries. That happens. But if you run an injured player out there, Richard Sherman, and that guy is a liability, Richard Sherman, then guess what? He is the best option you got, Richard Sherman, unless your coaching staff is just letting him run out there because he respects him so much, Jeff Hafley, who's gone now. So
I hope he makes you put a fist in your mouth this year.
And no one would be happier to be wrong, but Richard Sherman is trash, bro. I have been hating on him since the Seattle days. I didn't like his play last year. He is not as good as what people think, and this year we're going to see it. Jason Verrett is coming, and it's not for a Kello's spot. I'm done, man. You got anything else to say? Let's get out of here.
You're wrong. Anyway, no, I'm good, man. I don't have anything else.
All right, man. Prepare for glory.
Anticipate pain.
But always remain faithful.
We out of here. Peace.